Great to have Tony Casillas back with us for another season, the former Cowboy and the College Football Hall of Famer. Of course, Fox 4's Jeff Kolb, who's covered the team extensively, the Cowboys, during this preseason. So we're going to break down this opener. Dallas gets the 33-17 win. We'll talk about the Dak contract in a minute. But the game itself, first of all, Tony, 6 sacks by this Dallas defense, leading the way with Parsons and Lawrence and Overshown and Kendricks and Diggs, all making big plays for Mike Zimmer, right?
Everyone. And you look at this game and you look at Mike Zimmer, it's got his signature all over. You mentioned Eric Hendricks, a tremendous linebacker they brought in, has familiarity with Mike Zimmer in Minnesota. And then just the onslaught of what this defensive front was able to do to Deshaun Watson. He's going to need definitely going to have to go get a massage after what happened today.
Oh boy.
But oh boy. the way that they brought pressure all day long, as you mentioned, 6 sacks. At one time in the game, Cleveland ran 44 plays, and 50% of those plays were 0 negative yards. I mean, that is unheard of. But certainly Mike Zimmer, this is the type of defense that people can get used to. I know it's one game, and I don't want to overact, but this is the kind of guy you want to bring in. And I think he's a guy that's a voice that's not afraid to tell guys like it is when they're making mistakes. And I think that's a command he has, and I think it's going to be a good fit. I mean, I know it's one game, but certainly what a heck of a start by the Dallas defense.
Yeah, you and I picked Cleveland in this game, and a lot of people did. And Dallas just dominated, and again, the defense was a big part of the reason why.
I mean, I think Micah Parsons, we've said this before, Mike, he was the best player on the field. Only one of those 6 sacks, but created that interception with the deflection and so much havoc, as you're talking about, Tony. Deshaun Watson just had a heck of a day out there trying to avoid Micah Parsons. Yes, as you're mentioning, Cleveland was down a couple of their starting offensive linemen, but you just love to see the way that Mike Zimmer was able to use Micah Parsons out the gate. We heard about this all summer. Early on, there was those tense moments where it's like, are they communicating? Are they working together? And then in camp, Micah said, it's, they're teaching me so much. It's almost like I could be a coach after I stop playing. And he was just dominant today. And I thought the secondary looked good too. Trayvon Diggs, great to see him back, get the interception. And I thought Kalen Carson, the rookie, looked solid too. Almost had an interception as well.
Yeah, Diggs without Bland back there now for a while. You talk about Zimmer, when you open like this, and as Jeff mentioned, the relationship between a superstar player with the kind of personality that Micah Parsons has and Mike Zimmer, it can be a little bit combustible, but it helps to get off to this kind of start from that standpoint.
It really does. I think it really sends a message in the locker room, because this is the conversations we're going to have. I have an expectation, and I like his defense because he puts guys in a situational football. And the third down package is amazing. It's very fun to play in. And I've experienced some of those conversations with Mike Zimmer back in the day. But you mentioned, obviously, Micah Parsons' phenomenal performance. And I think that's when you find a weak link, in which they did today in this offensive line was poor. It's horrible for Cleveland. You got to be able to exploit that. And I think they did a tremendous job. Offensively, we'll get into offense, but I think they did a great job, and I mentioned this in the broadcast, by trying to neutralize someone like Myles Garrett. I mean, that was a tall task. Tyler Guyton gets the first start against the Defensive Player of the Year last year, but that's what the matches are about, the mismatches, and being able to isolate and take advantage of that, and they were able to do that.
Yeah, let's talk about the Dallas offense a little bit. Some big plays in the first half that involved Dak and CeeDee Lamb, but then a little bit quiet in the second half. Part of that, I guess, was just the rhythm and the flow of the game and what was necessary.
It's funny, they scored 33 points, but only 14 points via offensive touchdown. You had that great early touchdown from Dak to Brandin Cooks, which I thought really was a total game setter, right? All-out blitz. He
Absolutely.
Just beats it wide open, Brandin Cooks touchdown. And then how about Zeke? His first touchdown wearing number 15 for this franchise. I thought he looked fresh early on. You saw that, they used him in spurts, with Rico Dowdle getting touches as well. But yeah, I think things did quiet down, and I'm not really sure what to make of this Browns team. This was number 1 defense last year, and they just overall didn't look like such a tough challenge. I'm anxious to see how Dallas matches up, not only offensively but defensively against the Saints next week. You know, the run game on defense also was really strong. That was such a focus for Mike Zimmer coming in. Let's see how they do against Alvin Kamara next week.
Say more of a challenge there, that's for sure. Just another word on the run game, Tony. You know, Zeke is what he is, to be honest. You know, he's just not the kind of dynamic runner that he used to be, but he's still a tough, short yardage runner, and we saw that on that touchdown run. In situations like that, he can still be effective. He's still a good pass blocker, and at times can be a decent receiver out of the backfield. But they're at some point going to need a more consistent production, probably out of the run game, than they got today.
Yeah, it's a long season. This is the freshest you're ever going to be as a player. As the season gets along, you get wore down. And you know, I think it was just kind of different seeing Zeke with number 15 and not 21. I don't know if the 2 makes him look wider, but he looks like he's in good shape. I mean, they're going to get, you know, production out of him using the first and second down. Caught a pass and was able to, you know, move the chains. And I think that's what Zeke, I think he understands his role. And I think that's kind of what their expectations is for this offense to stay ahead of the chains, to get in third down and short. And I think Zeke has done that so well in first and second down and being able to get him, you know, 4 or 5 yards, first and second down, and those manageable third downs. And I think that's what they're hoping that he can do.
Dak is now 1-0 as the highest paid NFL player in the history of the league. He agrees to that new record-setting deal that'll bring him $60 million a year. What'd you make of that? Were you surprised it got done when it did? Do you think it was going to get done sooner?
I think this is Jerry's fashion of going ahead and let's go ahead and do this contract. I don't know if this happened before the pregame meal or after the pregame meal. I'm just thinking before the game, and oh, by the way, we're going to sign this huge contract. You know, now not only do you have Dak Prescott, $240 million. You signed CeeDee Lamb to $133 million. So you got a lot of money committed to these 2 players. So this has got, you know, hopefully this is a year that those 2 guys can connect and really be productive throughout the season.
You know, I think it had to get done, Jeff, and we've talked a lot about it, obviously, and I thought it would get done before the season started. So technically I was right on that.
Barely.
But not about the pick in the game tonight, but you're right about that.
Not picking the game. I got that wrong. But Jerry didn't want to do a reset, and I really don't blame him on this at the quarterback position.
Well, I think Jerry's hands were tied in a lot of ways when you really look at the numbers and the cap hits that were coming if Dak walked. I think it was something like $95 million over the next 2 years. So did he ever really have an option? What I really wonder, guys, is why not knock this out back in March and give yourself a chance to maybe retain a Tony Pollard at running back, a Dorrance Armstrong at defensive end? So they got it done in the end. You know, Dak Prescott, people might hate the comparison, but a lot of his numbers over the past handful of years are right there in the regular season with Patrick Mahomes. It's just the playoff thing, that 2-5 record. And now the Cowboys are tied to this through 2028. So, you know, if there was any part of Jerry that wanted to wait and see what happens in the postseason, I mean, that's out the window now. But I don't think he really, you know, financially had the option to wait.
Well, you kind of lost me at the Patrick Mahomes. And to your point, Jeff, I mean, I understand that. And you know, that's the price of playing poker in the NFL for a franchise quarterback. But, Mike, I think that this is something they had to get done because I don't think, again, as Jeff alluded to, they don't want to go through this, like, change in quarterbacks. I mean, I think they want to put this behind them and just hopefully, knock on wood, when postseason play comes around, it'll be a different story.
And there will be times, even the regular season, where Dak's offense has to look better than it did today. But with a lot of help, it was good enough to get a win 33-17 in Cleveland. A rookie in the booth for Fox. His name, Tom Brady. How did he do? We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. And Sam's back in Cleveland after this. Back now with Tony Casillas, Jeff Kolb, talking the Cowboys' 33-17 win at Cleveland. Up next, the Saints, who were impressive, like most people will be, against Carolina today. That's the home opener for Dallas a week from today at noon on Fox. Tom Brady will be at Jerry World with the Fox A team to call that game. And we heard Mr. Brady in the booth for the first time today, Tony Casillas. What did you think of Tom Brady's performance calling Cowboys and Browns today on Fox?
Well, I mean, he's nice to look at. I'm just saying that for the most of the country. But, look, I think Tom Brady, it's like anything, you know, in broadcasting. And I think it's it's difficult to be able to be that good at you know, doing what he does as a color analyst. And, you know, there's a lot of, you know, players that have transitioned into the NFL and have done a great job. But, I mean, he's obviously very intelligent. I mean, I think that for the most part, he did some great things. I think he paints a really good picture. There's no doubt about it. The guy knows the game. But I think I detected, and we talked about this before we came on the air, he was nervous, just like his rookie year. But he'll only get better.
I agree. It's understandable to have some nerves. And, Jeff, you know this. It's one thing knowing the game. It's another thing knowing how to talk about the game on television. And there's a certain rhythm to a play-by-play and a color analyst situation in the booth during a broadcast. And sometimes that wasn't there, and other times it was. But it's his first game. I think he'll just continue to get better as it goes along. And
guess what? The critics, they're always hard, it seems. They're always harsh. And so there's some people that are probably tonight killing Tom Brady. Oh, my gosh, he was terrible. But it's, television, there's a lot of moving parts that people don't see. A lot of things happening in your ear. You're trying to talk and listen to a producer and the plays coming on. And so I think Tom Brady will no doubt get better. But as he said multiple times, he is a rookie at this. And the last time he was a rookie as a player, he had this superstar cast and a guy named Bill Belichick, leading the way. And he wasn't really under pressure. I don't know if there's ever been a more hyped up broadcast debut than what we just saw today on Fox.
And Brady knows this as well as anybody, but listen to people who are good at it. There's this guy named Aikman who does a pretty good job on Monday nights. Just
He's my number one.
Take a few pointers from him, and you're going to be just fine. Tony Casillas, Jeff Kolb, thanks for sitting in and talking about this Cowboys opener in Cleveland. Appreciate it, guys.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks.